Have you noticed that after 25, friendships rarely end dramatically, but slowly begin to fade without clear explanation? There is no big fight, no betrayal, just fewer messages and longer gaps between conversations. The group chat that once felt alive becomes quieter, then almost completely silent. Plans that used to happen every weekend now require weeks of coordination. And eventually, even coordinating feels like too much effort for everyone involved. It can feel confusing because nothing obviously went wrong, but something changed beneath the surface without anyone announcing it. And that change usually begins around the mid-20s. This shift is not personal failure or emotional weakness. It is a natural consequence of life restructuring itself. After 25, priorities begin reorganizing themselves quietly. Career paths become more demanding and less flexible. Romantic relationships often start requiring deeper emotional investment. Family expectations can quietly grow heavier during this stage of life. And friendships must compete with all of these shifting responsibilities. Around 25, something shifts inside you, and you slowly start becoming more sure about who you are. In your early 20s, you're still figuring yourself out, trying different things, and saying yes to almost everything. But after 25, you stop experimenting so much and begin thinking more seriously about long-term decisions. And when that happens, your circle naturally gets smaller without you even planning for it. You stop wanting dozens of casual connections and start valuing just a few deeper ones. It's not that you suddenly dislike people. You just don't have unlimited emotional energy anymore. Work gets heavier, responsibilities increase, and your mental space feels more crowded than it used to. Staying close to friends actually takes time and effort, even if you genuinely care about them. So when you're tired or stressed, even texting back can start feeling like another task. And sometimes you don't drift because you stop caring, but because you're simply overwhelmed. Adulthood quietly introduces trade-offs that no one really warns you about. The time you once spent hanging out freely now goes into building stability for your future. Spontaneous meetups turn into planned schedules, and planned schedules never feel the same. Friendships that were easy because you saw each other daily now require intentional effort. And honestly, not every friendship survives that kind of transition. Another big reason friendships drift after 25 is that people's lives simply start moving in different directions. One friend might move to a different city, while another stays exactly where they always were. Distance doesn't automatically break friendships, but it definitely changes how often you see each other. And when you stop seeing someone regularly, emotional closeness can slowly start weakening. Some friends get married or enter serious relationships that demand more of their attention. Others become deeply focused on building their careers and chasing financial stability. When priorities shift, availability shifts too, even if affection remains the same. You might still care about each other, but your daily rhythms no longer match. One person is waking up early for work while the other is just going to sleep. And slowly, shared routines get replaced by completely different lifestyles. Financial differences can also quietly create distance between friends. One person might afford frequent trips and dinners, while the other is saving carefully. Even if no one says anything, lifestyle gaps can make interactions feel slightly uncomfortable. And sometimes, growth just happens at different speeds for different people. That difference in speed does not mean anyone is wrong, but it can still create distance. Sometimes friendships drift because both people are growing, just not in the same direction anymore. The jokes that once felt hilarious slowly stop landing the same way they used to. Conversations that once flowed easily begin to feel slightly forced or repetitive. You notice longer pauses, fewer shared interests, and less natural excitement. It is not hostility, it is simply different phases of emotional maturity. As you grow older, your values often shift without you consciously realizing it. Things that once felt important may no longer hold the same weight in your life. And when values change, compatibility sometimes changes along with them. You might realize you're having fewer deep conversations than before, or that you no longer feel as understood as you once did. Sometimes you outgrow the dynamic, even if you do not outgrow the person. That realization can feel strange because nothing dramatic actually happened. There was no betrayal, no argument, no obvious turning point. Just a quiet sense that things are not the same anymore. And sometimes that quiet change feels harder to process than a clear ending. The hardest part about friendships drifting is that nobody officially tells you it is happening. There is no clear goodbye, just a slow reduction in effort from both sides. At first you assume everyone is just busy and things will return to normal. Then weeks turn into months, and the silence becomes more noticeable. You might start wondering if you did something wrong without realizing it. But most of the time, nothing specific actually caused the distance. It was simply life expanding in different directions for both of you. Adult friendships often rely more on shared intention than shared proximity. When intention weakens, even strong history cannot fully sustain connection. And that realization can feel sad without being dramatic. It is important to understand that drifting does not erase what you shared before. Some friendships are meant for certain chapters, not the entire story. That does not make them less meaningful or less real. It simply means both of you are evolving in your own ways. And sometimes growth naturally creates space where closeness once existed. Not every friendship is meant to last forever, and that is completely normal. Some people walk beside you for years, and some only for a season. The length of a friendship does not determine its value. What matters more is what you both learned and experienced during that time. And sometimes distance is not an ending, just a pause. Life may bring you back together when circumstances align again, or it may introduce new people who fit the person you are becoming. Drifting does not mean failure, it means transition. And transition is part of becoming an adult. You are not losing everyone, you are refining who stays close. Quality often replaces quantity after 25. And deeper friendships usually require fewer but more intentional connections. It is okay to miss people and still accept the change. It is okay to grow in a direction that not everyone follows. And it is okay to let friendships evolve without turning every distance into regret. Friendships do not always end with a door slamming shut. Sometimes they simply soften, stretch, and change shape as life moves forward. If someone has drifted from your life, it does not mean the connection was meaningless. It just means you both are becoming different people. And becoming different is not something to apologize for. Some people are chapters, not the whole book.